they always said I'm wrong, but what they doing today? I think they want me gone, but I ain't going away. They told me I was wrong, but look at my ass today. Da 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 da.
Yo guys, what's going on? I'm Tim Kelly. This is The Real Sports Talk. I brought you a couple other videos today about Josh Hamilton and some other MLB news. One thing I do want to get to, though, is everyone's favorite show, ESPN First Take, which, I mean, you look around the sporting landscape, the sport media right now, how some of these media outlets are responding. Yahoo called ESPN First Take a joke. USA Today calls it an ongoing troll fest for Tim Tebow that the world never asked for. So, I mean, it's not a secret that not only do people that watch First Take not even take it seriously, but the rest of the sporting media, which usually if you don't have an issue with someone, you're not going to call another show from another network out, but everyone understands that ESPN First Take is a joke. I thought Stephen A. Smith was good back in the first time with ESPN. Not really feeling it anymore. Skip Bayless, I don't even need to go that far. But Rob Parker, to me, not only does he not even bring anything in the way of... Stephen A. Smith knows people, he's friends with a lot of players, he says it every time he speaks, and Skip Bayless brings propaganda which makes people watch. I don't even understand what Rob Parker brings to the table that he's on this show to begin with. But here's what he said on the show today. They're talking about RG3, who everyone knows what RG3's done this season, how successful of a rookie season he's had, and how he has the Redskins on the cusp of potentially going to the playoffs, which is much further than I think most people had them at the beginning of the season. So he's talking about RG3, and he says, is he a brother or a cornball brother? And then, you know, you could kind of sense that everyone there kind of took a step back and said in their head, oh, and realized what direction that this was going in. So they kind of ask him questions to get him to say a politically correct answer that just gets him out of this to the point where it's only a small deal and he's done. Instead, he continues to go on. He says, I keep hearing these things. We know he has a white fiance. There was all this talk about how he's a Republican. And basically, he said he's an Uncle Tom. That's essentially, I've talked to some people on Twitter who believe the same thing. Main Event TV, if you watch him on YouTube, he said that. And that's basically what I got out of this statement. And if you watch the full video, is that he's basically calling him not black or an Uncle Tom. And look, I'm as white as it gets. But I don't know who made Rob Parker the blackness police here. I mean, he also goes on and talk about how, well, he has dreadlocks, so that's a brother thing. This is the most stereotypical person you could possibly find, because usually you'll hear this from a 65-year-old white man who lives in the past and is still racist. But let me evaluate each of these three things he said. We know he has a white fiance. Welcome to 2012, almost 2013, where mixed marriage is allowed, Asians can marry anyone, white people can marry anyone, black people, whatever race, whatever background, anything, you can marry. That is long in the past, and I don't even understand where you come off making this statement. The next was, there's all this talk about how he's a Republican. Yeah, I mean, it is kind of a stereotype, especially with the fact of President Obama being black, but there's certainly, I've certainly seen black Republicans, and it's not necessarily a stereotype that for the most part is true, but it's not something you go on national television and say. Like what's the point? All right, and Stephen A. Smith, he comes on to this and basically talks about how. Actually, the one other thing I want to get to is the statement about the dreadlocks. There are a lot of black guys who just have shaved heads. So the whole dreadlock thing, including Rob Parker, the whole dreadlock thing. That just, it sounded racist. It sounded racially charged, and I don't understand where this is coming from. Stephen A. Smith is asked about it, and Stephen A. Smith, I think, does a good job of representing the black community. I'm trying to keep a steady line here because I'm white and I don't want to say something stupid, but I'm trying to keep a steady line here. But I think Stephen A. Smith does a good job of pointing out the black community, and I think Skip Bayless does a good job, and this is one of the few times you'll ever hear me say that in a sentence, that of just stepping back and kind of letting Stephen A. Smith discuss things like that and just interjecting a little bit. Stephen A. Smith, when asked about these statements, he was on the show, he says, "I'm uncomfortable with where we just went. RG3, the ethnicity or the color of his fiance is none of our business. It's irrelevant. He can live his life in whatever way he chooses. The braids that he has in his hair, that's his business. That's the way he can live." I mean, Stephen A. Smith pretty much summed up exactly what I thought. And Rob Parker also discussed how Tiger Woods didn't want to be labeled as black. Again, it's absolutely irrelevant to RG3. RG3 is perfect. There's nothing RG3 has done wrong. Not only is he a great quarterback, he's a running quarterback who actually gets the full ability to play. He can throw incredibly. He throws great touch passes, breaks out of pressure with his rushing. Took an injury last week. We'll see if he plays this weekend. But on top of that, he's a great speaker, and he comes off as a down-to-earth guy that everyone can like and relate to. And, you know, it's just statements like this where I don't get it. I don't understand why was this a topic of discussion. I've heard on this show numerous times irrelevant things like this. What does this have to do with the sporting world? Nothing. This isn't even an issue that people have talked about. It's not like you turn on radio stations all week and they're talking about is RG3 cornball whatever, is he a cornball brother or a brother? No one said that. Rob Parker just pulls this out of thin air, and I understand he was probably prompted, and that's what I don't get about this show, or why anyone really can sit down and watch it every day. Because this isn't the first time I've heard them do this. This isn't the first time Rob Parker stuck his foot in his mouth, which is why he doesn't work for the Detroit News anymore. Ask Rob, whatever the coach of the Lions was back then when they went 0-16. But I've heard them talk about, is Blake Griffin white or black? It's just like, whatever Blake Griffin says he is, Blake Griffin is. It really means absolutely nothing to what he does on the court. And that's what this show is about, and that's what sports shows should be about, is breaking down sports issues or issues that are actually relevant. In no way was this relevant, and Rob Parker, 110%, should and I think will be fired. An ESPN spokesman said the comments were inappropriate and we're evaluating our next step. A bunch of negative feedback about this, and there should be. Rob Parker overstepped his boundaries. There's negative feedback between from both white and black people and everyone in between, and there should be. And quite honestly, Rob Parker stepped over the line today, and he deserves to lose his job for this. Check out therealsportstalk.com. I'm Tim Kelly. I'm out.
Just a little ways around the corner from fear.